Welcome everybody to this webinar on labor conditions on palm oil plantations in Indonesia, experience from the ground. My name is Marieke Leegwater and I'm honored to lead this webinar series from the Sustainable Palm Oil Choice Initiative. Today I'm joined by Amalia Vll Alam and Marieke de Vries den Hollander of CNV International. Welcome ladies, thank you so much for joining me. I'm very excited about it because it's the labor conditions in Indonesia is a topic, we see a lot about in the media here in Europe, and I don't even know how that is in Indonesia. So really great that we can hear the stories from the ground today. So during this webinar, we will look at the conditions in oil palm plantations, maybe also what mechanisms exist to improve these, and the role of, in particular, European consumers and companies can play. Before we get started, as you've just seen, all of you can use the Q&A function. I will put the questions to Amalia and Marieke. And I will look at questions that are upvoted. So you can upvote questions that you feel are extremely relevant and interesting, and that will keep it a bit dynamic. I will start with about 5 to 7 questions, comments myself, but I will very much look forward to your questions, and so to try to make this as interactive and dynamic as possible. The session will be recorded, so we can put snippets on social media, and we'll put the whole thing on the SPOC website. And as we did previously, at the end of the session, we will give you a link, and there everybody can be seeing each other. And we'll have this informal chat session. It's entirely free if you want to join or not. We'll do that in about 40 minutes from now, so we'll move over to really open conversation. That's the administrative part. So with that, I will go to the content and ask the first question. And the first question I want to ask is, Amalia and Marieke, to both of you ladies, you've been working on this topic of labor conditions of palm oil plantations a lot, and here I see you in the pictures. Can you tell me what inspires you to work on this cause, and why are you dedicating your energy to this topic? Maybe Amalia first.
Thank you, Marieke, for having me here. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon. So I think, that's also the very interesting question. So actually, before I joining in CNV, I worked in RSPO for 3 years, but far before that, I worked a lot in the development. So I think working with the trade union is very important, because I can help many people, especially workers in palm oil. So I think that's one of my main motivation, and then hopefully I can also make positive impact for their working condition and their lives.
Thank you. And I just want to, say this. You've also you're joining as one of the Obama Young Leaders, right? That's a title granted to you. That's very impressive, right?
So that's also a very interesting story, that there are like 7,000 applicants that time, and then and then Obama just picking like 200 they call it young leaders. So from Indonesia there are like 18 young leaders that have been selected. So I feel honored and lucky, and I met a lot of incredible young leaders who are working in the environment in many sectors actually. yeah, so yeah, it's like 1 year fellowship program, and yeah, and I can meet them, and also of course I met Obama, Michelle, and yeah, and other incredible people there. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Hey, and Marike, how is it for you? What motivates you to work? And what do we see on this picture?
Yeah, well, this is a picture of Amalia and me and all the trade union leaders in Pontianak on West Kalimantan last year. Well, I think this picture was taken one day before the COVID lockdown came. We flew the next day in the afternoon. And this was the kickoff session for our palm oil project that we have on CBA benchmarking in
Maybe
the
we
palm
should
oil.
explain CBA.
CBA is a collective bargaining agreement. So from CNV and from our perspective, the only way to really arrange better working conditions and, for instance, also a living wage is through collective bargaining. So always together with worker representatives that are chosen independently. And the trade unions we work with are all chosen independently through a democratic system. And they also are linked to us, or for instance, to FNV, who's also in this picture. And so they uphold the international standards also in their processes.
Thank you, Marike. Interesting. So over to Amalia again. Recently, there's been a lot of media coverage about labor conditions in oil palm plantations, in particular in Indonesia, but also elsewhere in the world. Can you tell me a little bit about the background and what are we talking about? How many laborers are involved actually?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. So maybe we can start with the first slide after this. Yeah, so when we are talking about palm oil in Indonesia, as you know that, yeah, we are like, yeah, the first producers in the world. And if we asking like how many workers working there, so we talk about 4.25 million workers, and also plus more than 2 million smallholders. But of course, like, if you talk about the supply chain, it will be like about 16 until 18 million workers. So it's quite, yeah, I think not quite, a very huge industry. And if you asking like, like how many percentage owned by the company and smallholders, so it will be like 55% owned by the company, and 40% owned by the smallholders. Only very limited percentage owned by the government. But I think this is also, different. Maybe if we talk with Thailand, yeah, who have maybe like, like more owned by smallholders, for example, or maybe, from other countries, maybe quite, different percentage. Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't have data about like how many women workers. Yeah, so government also don't have such data. Yeah.
Thanks. And what are, in your perspective, the issues that we see on these plantations, or what's the problem
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. So I think about the problem is quite various, that you can see in the next slide, please. But yeah, so the issue is, I think, yeah, we can see after this. Yeah, so before we talk about the issue, maybe we should understand that there are like few types of workers that we're talking about. So the first type is like the harvester. So the harvester, I think almost all of them are men. I think mostly are men. So the type of contract is like a target, or we call it like wholesale. Yeah, wholesale. And there is also like another type of workers, like for example, like truck drivers, mechanics, machine operators. So they have like fixed daily workers. so they are like daily workers, but they have another, like, they have like annual leaves, insurance, and pension. But then if you talk about like women workers, most of them are working in the maintenance, like, like sprayers, like cleaners. So the type of contract is like no written contract, usually, like, just oral contract, something like that. So they are working as daily workers, means that no work, no pay, and they don't have paid leaves, and usually they also don't have social security. And for the management, usually they are in the administration and management. They have a permanent contract, which which have, I think, like full benefit as employees. And you are asking about, like, what kind of issues. So maybe we can come to the next slide.
I think these were already some issues, right? No work, no pay
Yes, no work, no pay. And yeah, usually most of, like, the highest risk in the workers is when they are working as daily workers. Yeah, because you can see, like, like no contract, no social security. Yeah. And we also see that there are like a basis of the issues that can have implication to the other issues, is
is.
the freedom of association. So yeah, because this is very vital, um, because this freedom association can connect with the CBA, collective bargaining agreement, with the social dialogue, with the monitoring function of the trade unions, yeah, to the working condition. And then second, like labor law enforcement, as you know that yeah, our labor inspector is not not really have very good resources, because like only like 1,000, yeah, less than 2,000 people around in Indonesia as a labor inspector, which is very, yeah, it's impossible to to control like more than 200,000 of companies for all sectors. um, and we also see there is like declining of the trade union density. So means that currently, like, like less than 3 million workers being a member of trade unions. I think that's also my main problems. And also, of course, the like geographical situation in palm oil plantation, yeah, casual job status, women workers. And of course, as trade union, we also see that the capacity of trade union become also one of the issue, yeah, that we face now. Yeah.
So, thank you for sharing this, Amalia. So, how does this relate to Indonesian legislation? And is this all? Is there a legal protection, or is that there but not enforced, or what is the legal situation in Indonesia?
Yeah. So yeah, maybe some of you already noticed that during this COVID-19 pandemic, there are um, some countries that that changes their labor law, which is in from labor's perspective is like some, yeah, like decreasing, something like that, decreasing of the quality of the labor rights, and including in Indonesia. So we just issue job creation bill in October last year, which there are yeah, few, what we call it, maybe few risks or few issues there. For example, like currently we have more overtime work. So for example, before it's like 14 hours per week, currently become 18 hours. And then there is also stipulation about the contract workers that used to be like, maximum like 2 years plus 1 year extension, and currently become 5 years. So it means that, you can be contract workers for 5 years now. Yeah, and then some other, some other issues. So currently there are like some trade unions group that bring this law to the constitutional court. So we are still in the, in the situation that is not, in favor of the trade unions. But of course in the ground, we can see that the geographical condition in the plantation also, have a lot of implication. For example, like, how to access the labor inspector, because labor inspector is located in the main cities in the provincial level. So if if you should go there, it needs a lot of cost, time and cost. And of course there is like, lacking of labor inspector, instead in terms of the number, and also the resources. So means that I think we need alternative way, on how to make sure the labor rights is the implementation of the labor rights. I mean, yeah.
Thank you, Amalia. I see we have a question in the chat that's very relevant from Kamini Viswanathan. Do you already see impacts of this omnibus law on the palm oil sector? And, would you rate them as positive or negative?
Yeah.
Maybe you answered it, but...
Yeah. Thank you, Kamini. Yeah. So, there are few stories that, that have been reported. I think this is also related with omnibus law, and also like COVID context. So I think I will tell like one story or one real cases after this. That's also related with the job creation bill and also the COVID context. But I saw that, there is like a dispute in one of the company in West Kalimantan regarding the minimum wage. Because if you see the job creation bill, there is changes about the minimum wage. So currently Indonesia deleted or omitted the sectoral minimum wage. So sectoral minimum wage is here usually, and this is like the district minimum wage. So currently under job creation bill, this is already deleted. So we have like, lower minimum wage now. And there was like dispute in West Kalimantan about, which minimum wage that should be applied. But currently I think it's still in negotiation. So the company would like to, immediately apply the new job creation bill, but the trade union would like to still keep the old sectoral minimum wage. I think that's one of the example. Yeah.
To me, it doesn't sound too positive. If I hear this, Amalia, the impacts of the omnibus law on labor protection in Indonesia.
Yeah, but I think one of also the what I can see, actually a lot of doubt. Yeah, a lot of question also from private sectors actually regarding this job creation bill. yeah, for example, like, like how to calculate the severance payment, for example, because a lot of changes, in the amount of severance payment.
What is it, severance payment?
Yeah, like, after like you were like dismissed,
Yeah.
yeah, and then you should like, give like compensation. So there are like, significant changes, yeah, about the amount, yeah, and then of course changes about minimum wage, yeah, so yeah, so it's quite, yeah, significant changes, yeah, I can say, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I want to invite the audience to keep in giving in questions. This webinar is meant to be very interactive, and time is flying, I see. So I think, Amalia, we had prepared one example for you. Maybe do you want to tell that still? That's the next thing we're at, right?
Yeah, next slide. Yeah, so I just, want to share like one real case in East Kalimantan, so you can know, some of like, unfortunately, like the general, situation in Indonesia, because it's also related with the COVID and then freedom of association. Okay, so you know that in the process of job creation bill, there is like, like a lot of strike happening before the yeah, before the issuance. So this is happened before October last year. So when the trade union do like strike in a lot of places, so it's not only in East Kalimantan, but also in Java, Sumatra. So so there are like, like um, 18 workers who are joining this strike. So they are doing strike in front of the major office, and then they go back to the plantation. So this location in Berau is Kalimantan. So they go back to the plantation, and the company say that, you cannot enter the plantation because, you are in the crowd. So maybe you get COVID-19. So you have been like, you get the virus, something like that. And then those 18 workers, they do like COVID-19 tests. But then after that, yeah, they have been dismissed by the company, and they most of them already working like 5 until 6 years, and they are very very active in the trade union Hukatan, so which is like, CNV partners, trade union Hukatan, and they have been like, like forcibly move out from their houses together with their family. So there are like 43 people, including their family, yeah, the wife and the children, move out forcibly by the company, and then they are moving to the Hukatan office secretariat, and you can see in the next slide. Yeah, so this is the secretariat of Hukatan. And as trade union Hukatan already tried to bring this case to the labor inspector, and then the major, the legislative in Brau, and then yeah, I also tried to bring this to the Ministry of Manpower a few days ago. So this is still ongoing. And yeah, actually, I mean, it's also in the a lot of news in the newspaper. Yeah, so I think this is one of the cases that currently is still ongoing.
Thank you, Amalia. I see in the chat, I saw a question. Are there also any positive impacts for workers from the omnibus law?
Yes, there is. The first, I think, positive thing is uh, the contract workers currently they can get compensation after the completion of the contract. So that's the first positive
Improvements. Yeah.
improvement. Yes. Um, and then second, they can get currently like unemployment benefit. So if they are dismissed, so they can get, I think, maximum like 3 months or 6 months unemployment benefit. That so they can use it for like training, and then during the transition process to get the new job.
Thank you. Oh, there's more.
Yeah, I think that's the main the main benefit for the workers. Even though I know that some of the private sector not really agree, especially for the compensation of the contract workers, because it's quite costly maybe.
So on another note, I'd like to, I think, we've talked about the issues. It's a lot around, let's say, fair pay, good contracts. Can you tell me a little bit how you see, what kind of solutions do you see, and maybe also the role RSPO can play in this framework, in this story?
I think there are like like a few entry point or solution that that we can we can use. For example, from if we pick the entry point from RSPO, of course I think currently RSPO already have like better principle and criteria also related with the labor rights. But then I think we also should make sure that there is also like improvement of the audit process, for example, because identify the labor the labor issue is not easy on the ground. So you need to do like a lot of interview with with the workers, with the trade unions, with the local NGOs, that might needs more time in the audit process. And then also you need to strengthen the engagement with with the trade unions, and also invite more trade unions to be to be RSPO members. And currently CNV already being RSPO member, and also our partner Hukatan. I think that's a good start, but we need more trade unions in RSPO. And I know that RSPO also already like issue some of very good guideline related with the with the living wage, with gender. I think I think the next step in is how we can implement that on the ground.
Thank you. So, Marike, I think CMV also recently decided to join RSPO. Can you tell me a little bit what you expect of your RSPO membership, and how do you think it contributes?
Yes. Well, yes, we recently joined. The whole procedure always takes quite a lot of time, but we joined at the beginning of this year. And we were already quite active together with RSPO in the program we have in West Kalimantan. So we were already discussing on trainings and giving input, for instance, on their gender guidance and manuals. We feel that from our perspective, it's a good way to reach the palm oil producing companies, because what we see is that often there is, it's quite hard for a trade union, even if you work internationally, to work together with companies. There's always this part of mistrust at the basis. And well, for us, it's also an aim to show that we are trustworthy and we only work at the behalf of the workers, but also to improve the sector as a whole, because I truly believe that if we work together on improving the sector and improving the labor conditions for workers, then also this will increase the good working settings, and will also increase production, or at least you have very committed workers who are willing to walk the extra mile. And so why the membership of the RSPO? Through this membership, we could give input on some of the very vital issues that RSPO at this moment has less expertise on, because there's hardly any trade unions or worker representative organizations part of RSPO at this moment. So that for one is that we can bring in expertise that wasn't present, but also that we can reach companies easier and better, because if we assist in the manuals, for instance, for auditing, and we explain to auditors through the manual how to make the steps that they include also the trade unions and the workers, then this will improve the whole system. And that will reach so many more companies than we can reach if we just try to have a dialogue with them one-on-one, because that dialogue also takes a lot of time.
So you see RSPO as really a mechanism to bring scale to your improvements. That's
yeah,
I understand it right.
One of the things that CNV International, we don't only focus on palm oil in Indonesia, we also focus on palm oil in the Latin American countries. So therefore we also bring this more global idea about how the policies are different in the different continents, and also what approach is viable for one country and should maybe be a little bit different in another country, if you look at trade union rights, for instance.
Thanks. So on RSPO, what do you, let's say, Amalia, how do you rate it? Like, and what would you recommend European buyers to do? Would you say, well, the issues are so bad, let's move away from palm oil? Or would you say, buy sustainable palm oil and try to stimulate improvements?
Yeah. I think for the buyers, I think we can see, like, few research, for example, like there is like research, I think, few years ago, say that RSPO member are more responsive, in terms of how they handle complaints, for example. And the RSPO members also more transparent, so I think say no to palm oil is not the answer. Of course we need to support sustainable palm oil, and then how to increase the uptake, I think, from the European buyers. But then, of course, RSPO is one entry point, or one of the solution. But aside from that, I think we need to do more. I think, because of course we also know that audit also have their weakness. Therefore, you need to you need to do other things, such as how to do better risk assessment, and then how to engage with the stakeholder, raising awareness, do training to the management in regards to the labor rights and gender mainstreaming. So I think a lot of things that private sector also can do. And one of those is, of course, to support the sustainable palm oil. Yeah.
Thank you, Amalia. And let's say, what does CNV do in this perspective? Are there ways for people to support your work, or to help you?
Yeah. So currently, yeah, maybe Marika can add later on. So currently we are close coordination and also work together with ILO in Indonesia, and then also the palm oil business association, GAPKI, and then we also like keep close coordination with a few biggest company, palm oil company, and yeah, and we are active in few task force and working group in RSPO. But of course, I think related with the support, yeah, we need some support, because like in Indonesia, palm oil is very huge, yeah, very huge. And we start like piloting in West Kalimantan regarding the collective bargaining agreement and social dialogue project. So I think it will be good if if we can like scaling up, and then currently we focus in few provinces, and also yeah, we support the some trade unions in the Latin America. So yeah, so I think yeah, definitely we need more support. Yeah, but for Latin America, maybe Marika can can add to that in the in a more like global level. Yeah.
Sure. Thanks, Amalia.
Yes. Yes, I think Amalia has stressed the point right, that at this moment we, with the current project we have on CBA negotiations and also benchmarking, we are looking to have this benchmark for both companies and also the financial sector online, hopefully next year summer. But it's at this moment, it's only West Kalimantan. So it would be very good to also increase this to the whole of Kalimantan, to add Sumatra, and also to add the Latin American countries. And from the Latin American countries, we learn a lot about how we also work with sugarcane and bon sucro in those countries, on how to improve steps and also use a digital monitoring system for workers to also stress the problems that they see anonymously. But from a Latin American perspective, the focus is more on living wage through a bigger network, for instance, through RSPO, because it's in countries like Colombia and Guatemala, it's even harder to organize a trade union. And you often see that not only people are evicted from their lands or are fired, but they are even killed, or they are, how do you say? I'm now lost for the word, where they just take you and you don't know, abducted. So the issues of having trade unions grow or organize there are even harder. So there we also very much in need of working together with companies. So it's not only bottom up, but it's also from the top down stimulated that there is living wage and improved working conditions. And for this, we're always looking for companies to join and develop projects.
A call to action, companies,
yeah,
please.
Yeah.
The idea of these webinars is that we try to answer audience questions as well. So we're nearing the end. We have only 5 minutes left, more or less. So any pressing questions, please do send them in. I see we have one that is from Mohua Mukherjee, and that's: do the labor rights movements have any connections with the environmental movement trying to prevent destruction of natural habitat through palm oil? So is there a connection between, let's say, your work and more environmentally oriented work?
Yeah. Yeah. So far, we are not. Of course, we know some. We know the some NGO that that already work in the environment. But currently, we don't have like what we call it, like a formal alliance, or or something like that, or formal network. But we are more connected with the human rights NGO. So, for example, in Indonesia, we have like like a human rights NGO group. So sometimes we are coordination. Yeah, but with the environment, and not really. Yeah, it's still like
Yes,
different topic. Yeah.
I think we do work together through RSPO because we work with Oxfam and we work with both ends. And we also work together with Solidaridad through SPAC. So there's quite some links with other NGOs. And I think what is important if you look at the community and environment is that not all the workers are migrants. Also, a lot of workers are from the area themselves. So actually, it's the same stakeholder group. But so in some cases, there's an overlap between communities and workers since they are the same person. But it is hard to see within the labor rights. It's probably the human rights that Amalia mentioned, but also if you look at occupational health and safety and use of pesticides, because that goes into the groundwater and the air. So.
And maybe I want to share from my Solidaridad hat.
Yes.
It's, in the Netherlands, we have an NGO coalition meeting that meets quite regularly to kind of discuss updates and what's happening, so that there is some collaboration between NGOs. Amelia, I want to ask you one other thing, quite kind of at the verge of the webinar. I realize quite a fundamental question, but something you hear a lot also is like, actually, the palm oil plantation sector provides so many jobs for people and is such also a deliverer of wealth. So maybe it's not all that bad. Can you comment on that? How you see that?
Yeah. Yes, as you know, as I presented earlier, that palm oil already like create like direct direct employment like 6 million, and also like about 16 million along the supply chain in Indonesia. And it's true that it's creates million of jobs. But of course, I think ideally, I think we need to comply with the with the norms regulating the labor rights, and also of course environment also very important. So we should not like sacrifice our environment, or people for only economic growth. So that's why I think that's the concept of sustainability, I think. I think we should make sure that the labor rights and environment also is is uh, yeah is uh, is respected.
Thank you. I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
There are jobs, but it should be good jobs.
Yes, and I'm not sure whether is there any more slides there, I think.
Oh yeah, sorry.
I think that's I think this is like like puzzle of some labor labor issue. And the blue one is the the labor issue that related with the story that I mentioned earlier in East Kalimantan. And yeah, and again, to identify this complex issue is not easy, I think, in the in the audit process. And yeah, it needs yeah, a lot of effort and time, and a lot of engagement with the stakeholders. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe the latest slide, maybe next slide. Owen, do we have next slide?
There's not another slide.
Okay, this is the latest slide. Okay. So,
Wait,
yeah,
but
so I think
maybe
this is like
Amalia.
the summary, the summary of our talk.
No, but maybe Amalia, I wanted to give you the last word, and Marike, by the way, because we're nearing the end of the time. So in about 3 minutes, Owen will share a link where everybody can be active with each other. I need to tell you from Owen that when I invite people at the end, tell everyone the link will be active in 2 minutes, so they need to copy and paste it only after the webinar closes. So you need to copy and paste the link after the webinar closes. That will do, let's say, after I give Amalia and Marike maybe a chance for a final word, or the audience for a final question. Let me see if there are any. Yes, questions. Marianne Lips, don't you think there should be more dialogue on sustainability between ecological NGOs and labor NGOs? There seems to be a conflict of interest between these two regarding the effect of RSPO. Well, interesting, Marianne, that you bring that up. It's not my perception that there is really a conflict of interest. I think most people agree that RSPO is a tool, one of the tools in the toolbox that's helping to improve sustainability, but can not on its own do all the changes, and it needs to be strengthened in particular in enforcement. And I think between at least ecological and labor NGOs, most of the NGOs, at least in the Netherlands and in Asia that I'm aware of, seem to share that conclusion. I think even Greenpeace. And then Mukari, I agree with Amalia that we cannot sacrifice the climate security of a country for the profits of some private companies. Monoculture harms the environment if you have to cut down the forest. Yes. Okay, that's a fair comment. How can we address the monies collected by syndicates from workers prior to them being recruited by the recruitment agency? This is Serena Ismail. So do you feel, Amalia, you can answer this question? Or looking at the time, maybe Serena, could you maybe send me an email that I send it onwards to Amalia about recruitment fees? I think that's a very specific issue that we really need to be aware of. Yeah. So thanks everybody for giving your questions at the very last minute. It's typically how these things go. I'm going to give the final word to Amalia and Marike. Maybe first, Marike, is there anything you want to still say you feel you should have said?
Well, about the last question, RSPO at this moment is active in looking at sustainable recruitment. So there can also be a demand for only sustainable recruiters to be linked to RSPO. So in a way, it's really on our viewpoint also, because CNV International also works with outsourced workers a lot. Especially also in mining. So we have, this expertise. We're trying to include that also if you look within the palm oil sector and how recruitment agencies work and how they sometimes ask for money or passports or, provide the very glamorous lodging, for instance, and there's, well, the situations is a lot more harsh than is first told, especially also with migrant workers. So this is one of the things we also focus on, and it's a good thing to maybe have another new webinar about, because it's a whole world on itself, just like labor and living wage. So I want to thank everybody for being present in this group. And if there's any questions, well, you can always contact us at CNV International, because we're, well, really keen on giving more explanation on this. So also as speakers, for instance.
Thanks, Marieke.
Thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. And yeah, let's see if we can do another webinar at some point. Amalia, do you have anything you want to say before we close this session and move to the chat?
Yeah. So I think we need to do both. From bottom up and top down. Like from bottom up, of course, like, you know, we need to strengthen the trade union, and then to make sure the freedom of association and social dialogue is happening on the ground. But of course, from top down, we also need strong regulation, and then commitment from the private sector, and then follow the norms, including RSPO principle and criteria. And in between, we need capacity building, engagement, and good reporting, monitoring, evaluation, and so on. So I think RSPO is very important, but of course I think we need to work more than that, because we also notice that the audit have maybe have some weakness, and so that we need to fulfill, or edit some more additional work, to make it to just to make it in a ideal situation to improve labor conditions.
Thank you, Amalia. Thank you. I think it's very clear this needs a lot more work and attention, and I'm very happy that you, as CNV, play such an important role in that, working on collective bargaining agreements, the database. We haven't talked about that in detail, but I realize now, having done this webinar, we could probably spend like 3 hours talking about this. So thank you. Owen, I'd like to get the final slide of the SPOC webinar thing. Because to the audience, I want to tell you that this is for now the last SPOC webinars in this series. And I've been very happy hosting it, but it's time to change our format a little bit and innovate. So the next time we'll do something with probably more speakers and slightly different setup. And the topic, in the last half of this year, we will organize at least a webinar called Towards Nature Inclusive and Climate Friendly Palm oil Production, and about opportunities for oil palm production in nature inclusive and climate friendly ways, and talk about all kind of new initiatives on palm oil productions that are now really small but can benefit of scale. And then for now, I would like to thank Marieke and Amalia for taking part in this final webinar, for taking the time to prepare this with me.